Hello everyone and welcome to another Starfield video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new to the channel, but if you're a part of this beautiful and insane number of 70,946 of y'all who've hit that subscribe button, who are taking my challenge to become everyday millionaires, to pay off debt, to game like nobody else, welcome back, welcome in, and thank you so much for being here. We've got a lot to cover today. We are just 2 days away from the early access release of Starfield, of which that's when all of this really comes to a head. That's in 2 days time. It's going to be really interesting to see how the conversation shifts, because whether you like PlayStation or not, the PlayStation fan base is riled up, and they are bringing the copium to this in an overloaded, almost mind-bending way. But we're going to start with some hopium. We're going to talk about the good of what Starfield hopes to bring to the table. What I'm absolutely freaking excited to play this game, and I cannot wait to see what the real reaction is truly going to be. Now, we're going to talk about a lot here, but I do want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the full episode of Class Dismissed. Over 241 likes on that video alone. That's the most likes I've ever gotten on a comment section video. Those are like my podcast here, where we just talk about everything you guys are talking about. And so I did a dedicated video this past Sunday. It's a banger. It's a long video. And thank you guys for those of you who tuned in and hit that like button on that, especially last video in and of itself, over 1,129 likes. That's just mind-boggling. I'm going to keep it a humble 200. I haven't been putting out call to actions, for the like count, but if you guys can smash that like button 200 times, I would generally really appreciate it, as it helps out these videos immensely. But let's get to the content that you clicked on for some Starfield news and information. I'm going to open up with Jez in this case. He says a lot of the anti-Starfield takes are clearly from people who've never played a Bethesda RPG. Now, in the comments, Ramon follows this up and says, I think the craziness is because Microsoft has a lot of pressure to deliver with Starfield. It will be fun. People on both ends need to relax and enjoy the ride and this amazing game that we have available. And these two things together, these two thoughts, Jez's and Ramon's, I think perfectly encapsulate one of the things that we're seeing online. And it's one of the reasons why, like, the majority of us as gamers, like, it's so funny. If you took the console warriors and you put them in a room with the rest of us, you'd never hear from them. You couldn't find them. But the internet has the ability to really bring them to the forefront and make their voices sound louder than they truly are. And so, from a sake of entertainment perspective, the console wars and the lead up to Starfield has been immensely entertaining for me. I hope that some part of what I put out there in content has been entertaining for you, but more than anything else, hopefully this helps spark conversations about Play Anywhere. That's the real strength beyond what you guys want and or don't want and like and don't like about Starfield. The game is playable in more places than has ever been available before, and this is something to be celebrated and championed. But we got more to cover, and this is perhaps the perfect kind of troll post. I'm going to bring it up. David Jaffe, if you guys don't follow, creator God of War, he originally tweets out, finally finished Starfield. It has moments of genius, but it doesn't seem like it will hold up in other classics. Ending was also WTF, which I kind of get given the overall theme, but still, it's also an entertainment product, so I don't know. Need to process. And then he goes and follows it up with, oh, so perfect, Seinfeld. I finally finished all of Seinfeld. Stupid auto correct. Well played, David Jaffe. Guys, give it up, a little golf clap there for David. I saw this and I just rolled out of my seat, and I had to share it with you guys today because it's just the perfect palate cleanser for all of the nonsense that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Let's continue on. Unisensei says, normal people play Bethesda games for rich stories, vast amounts of quests, amazing characters, and the role-playing. Insane fanboys want us to believe that Starfield is bad because you can't travel around a planet indefinitely, meaning no loading. You can, walk on, Brave Explorer kind of thing. Yet you can't do that in a PS banger. And they didn't care. And that's in my mind, to kind of, defend the Sony base in this case, that is kind of a false equivalency. I personally never expected that we could just straight up walk around the entire planet. It wasn't until he said walk on Brave Explorer that it gave that illusion. And honestly, if we're going to hit Bethesda for anything, should be their I don't know, they don't give committal based answers. They give vague enough answers that drive earned media. In fact, that probably is the marketing strategy hands down. In fact, earned media, which is what this video is earned media. Same thing with, TV shows and more. Heck, I love, so many of the comic books, Comic Historian, good personal friend. I love his content. Earned media is we get to talk about the show. We get to talk about the Easter eggs, and that keeps people talking. And so that is what is in my mind being at play. Now, doesn't mean you have to like it. Doesn't mean you can't be frustrated about it. I share in some of that, but it isn't enough to ruin my fun and my excitement for the game, because I tend to try as a personal, point of principle, try to set and lock my sights into kind of like, you know what? It's a game. I'm going to play it. I'm going to judge it for what it is when I go hands-on with it, trying to keep my expectations to a minimum. Now, Peter follows this up and says, can't people read or understand sentences again? Question, is the entire planet explorable? Answer, yes. It doesn't say that you can walk from end to end on the planet. It doesn't explain the mechanism of exploration. Lord, help me. And this is in and of itself, like, they give themselves enough room to really say, like, we didn't say that, but we didn't let your imaginations run, we did let your imaginations run wild and make those radical assumptions. This whole issue is a non-issue in my book. Doesn't mean that it can't be frustrating to you and that's what you were wanting. I'm not discounting how you feel, but I'm saying that this whole issue is a non-issue, especially when the game comes out. Once you go hands-on with it, this in and of itself just becomes, I think, background noise, because we don't have a game to play to talk about its strengths and talk about its weaknesses. Perhaps these invisible walls will end up becoming a deal breaker for a very small amount of people, but ultimately those voices are the most elevated because there isn't another thing to push back on. And as somebody who has not yet played, I've been looking to play and experience this game in real time once it launches. We don't have well, yeah, it's got invisible walls, so what? 99.9% of this game just freaking bangs on, these different points. But I do want to highlight Peter's point, especially with Unisensei, because this in and of itself is in 2 days. We're not going to be talking about it. At least I don't think so. If we still are talking about it in 2 days, call me out, guys. I would love to have that discussion at that point. Let's start with a little bit of the copium, with a little bit of the salt. King Thrash says, you cannot go to these planets because exploration was a lie. Jesus, it gets worse. And he's highlighting gas planets on the game, which the game is set in a kind of a true to life fiction, fictional real life universe. And that I don't know what the right term is. If there is a literary term for what I'm trying to say right now, please sound off in the comments. Please educate me. I appreciate it. I didn't expect that we would be walking around on gas planets because they are made out of gas. So that was essentially an assumption on mine. If you had a different assumption, I'd love to hear it. Obviously, when it comes to space flight, we've seen that. It doesn't look like we're going to be flying into gas planets, but we'll have to wait and see how that ultimately kind of pans out and plays out. Visually, I think these are incredible set pieces, and I can't wait to see what happens. I'm betting as around a gas planet, we can go visit the moons, much like with our own Jupiter here in our solar system. Now, let's dive into some comments here. Dave Ryer says, walk around the planet thing. It was never truly sold on it, and if it was or wasn't doable. And they never lied about it, nor did Todd's answers directly point it out the other way or another. You are not being lied to if you have not asked the correct questions to get a direct answer. That is like asking so what's for dinner, and they just say, I'm picking up your favorite, a favorite of ours, and then you go and get mad and claim that they lied to you for bringing home pizza when you were thinking tacos. But on a side note, pizza and tacos are incredible, and so if you brought me pizza or you brought me tacos, that was the right answer the whole time. That'd be the right answer. Although I do believe Todd should catch a little shade over this, because over the years, he has always done this prancing around the actual answer while keeping everyone in the dark. In my own opinion, that sort of stuff needs to stop. It creates more dilemmas than solutions. And ultimately, the only pushback that I can come up with towards this, because I agree with this statement wholeheartedly, but understanding the algorithm and the engagement, that is the true game that's being played here on us all, me included, right? what is going to get me to engage, and therefore that is what's going to get that promotion. And that's where we end up seeing the extremes come out, the hyper negative and the hyper positive, and those being what gets shared because those have the most emotional reaction. And so them being specifically vague allows for that earned media and allows for people to go off and speculate. And like, are they wrong for doing so? Kind of. But are we going to damn them for it? As long as the game's good, all will be forgiven. And that's the real reality. Good game armor will protect them. What happens in games like this, especially when you look at, 76, right? The game wasn't good to start, so that good game armor couldn't shield the marketing that was being applied, the earned media that was being allowed to run, rampant. If Starfield delivers an incredible experience, all of this will be forgotten and forgiven. Now, it will be filed away in gamers' minds for the next time to whenever they get let down dramatically, but ultimately, if, let's say, 1 out of 1,000 people are disappointed by what we've seen today, well, I think they're just going to end up being drowned out by the overwhelming positive, saying like, guys, get over it. The game's fun, move on, etc. Now, Dave says, Ginger, the issue really isn't even the invisible walls that you reach. It's that it seems like you have to go back to your ship to pick up another tile to go to. Why didn't they just make it so that you can reach the end and then you get a message asking you if you want to continue to have a short loading screen to go to the next area? That is all they really had to do. And I think I know the answer to my own question, but it's just because all the tiles on the planet are not connected and are just random. For example, if you are on that tile next to the major cities in the game, you can see that city from the next tile. And so you see the mountain in the distance and then the tile that you're on it. If that mountain is not in your tile, then you won't be able to go to it, because if you go to the next tile, then you would just be randomly generated with no rhyme or reason outside of the biome that you have that has no continuality, and with the tile that you are just right next to it. So from a technical perspective, me weighing in, having not yet played with the creation engine in this game, that's something I think will be fun for me as a developer to play around with. I do actually am planning to spend some time and work on some mods with this game, namely because of just my curiosity, and I never have gotten into modding before. It always felt weird to me. Not saying that modders are bad or wrong. I don't know. I guess coming from a console and more into a PC gaming space now, modding was never this bigger thing, and I never have played these games actually on PC. They were always on console for me. So this is going to be a new experience for me. But to try and answer your question from a speculative development design perspective, I do think that is possible. The question ends up being is how much time would it take to do something like that, and how much is it just easier for them to say, you know what, it's what it is, right? This is what it is. This is the game that we designed. And when you start to think about something of the concept of Starfield 2 and more, they can take the framework that they have built already and then expand upon it, depending on if they just do decide to do a Starfield 2. Lord knows that could be 10 years away from now, and the technology could end up being way more advanced. When you start to then talk about like 10 years from now, when cloud gaming ends up becoming more of a thing, when that cloud compute becomes a bigger thing than it is today, there is so much potential in what they can do, and as the game continues to grow. So you could see this kind of thing where if the feedback ends up being like, I really wish that was the case, that'd be great. I do agree with Dave, like that would have been the solution to the problem of like, instead of like fast traveling back to the ship and then doing that, just giving you the option to kind of automate that in one press. That's just called good design. I'm gonna hammer on that, because the less clicks that you have to give the player to do the thing, could, in this case would seem like a natural, enjoyment. Like hold X to have it go ahead and just do the thing for you, and now you're just continuing on in that direction. The other thing they could have done is just had it basically start to generate as you move through it, but I would assume the resources, the memory, and more make that a huge challenge, because especially procedural and having all these things done, I'm sure there's going to be some things that are going behind the scenes that clearly you don't want to have running, especially when you're in a maybe a fight and then having that play out. Ultimately, we'll have to wait and see how the game plays and how it feels. Let's shift into the copium, into the trolls. Now, I have a lot of respect for J-Dub. You don't have to like him, but like when I say respect, I'm focusing on he is great at engagement and getting those troll kind of post to really drive people home. And this is what he's got to say. And then we got a couple of things that are just like make you boggle your mind. He says, I'm starting to see if Xbox gamers move on to Forza Motorsport after Starfield. Cool. I'm excited for Forza Motorsport. Nothing wrong with that. You'll see the hype for Forza start picking up, marketing, etc. He got caught lacking invisible boundaries, loading screens, 360 graphics, and a handful of places to land. It is finally discovered. It is writing on the wall, shall we see on Thursday. I don't think it's writing on the wall, especially with Creation Engine, the mods, and more. I think what you'll end up seeing, normally like we do with every game, and what we'll hear as soon as the game is released, you might not need my videos in your feed, and you might go watch something else, and that's perfectly fine. Like, that is the natural course of action for these games, and for people to get excited about what's coming up next. And gamers tend to move with the hype. There's a kind of a communal hype aspect of it. So people moving from game to game isn't surprising, Jay. But the 360 graphics comment, I think, is perfect troll bait. So well played. Boom is tweeting this, says he can't have words, and you see like a quote image from Game Rant saying, "Will Starfield be playable on PS5?" The reason why they do this is because people are searching. A lot of people get mad at YouTubers for, titles that like, oh, what is this title? What does this mean? A lot of this is all just SEO, search engine optimization. People are searching. It's in fact actually one of the things I sit down with a lot of new content creators and talk about is that a lot of people think that they want a thing. They'll even say it, right? I've seen this happen time and time again. Oh, it'd be great if we all had videos that were just X. Well, people will go and make those videos and then no one shows up to watch them. So people saying a thing and then doing a thing sometimes don't really align. So just because people are saying that, they want this thing doesn't necessarily mean they're going to show up for it. And the only way to find out is you test it out. You make the thing that they're asking for. If they show up for it, then great. So what this is just people searching. Hey, is this game available on PS5? Because this goes beyond the scope of the kind of knowledge-based gaming that we have here at this channel. In fact, based off of a title or something, you might have had this video recommended to you from a search, and you're still here, and thank you for that. Welcome in. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss these videos. But the reality of it is just that people are going to search it and they're going to ask it, and Game Rant rather have that discovery than anything else. And so I don't fault them for something like that, but it just is the difference between somebody who knows what's going on versus somebody who's like, hey, I saw an ad for Starfield. Is this coming to PS5? So that's why those articles exist. Jen highlights this, though, saying, waiting for the headline, Starfield sandwiches have no gluten-free option. Are Bethesda failing gamers? And that's so funny because we see this so much with video games where people try to like put so much onto them that ignite, the frustration and the anger and, marginalized and stuff like that. And it really truly is that. I think Jen's comment highlights this beautifully because people are going to find things to pick on, anything they can find to pick on, just to kind of be that, annoying little thought in the back of everybody's heads. King Thrash again says, no, but I did notice a whole lot of less Starfield as Game of the Generation talk the last few days. Well, most of the people who are playing it can't really talk about it, and there's no point in reiterating it over and over and over again. The Game of a Generation, the game of these things, like, it won't actually be decided on Thursday. It will ultimately be determined and when you start to think about the bigger future for these games in a couple of years. Like, is this a game that really truly sets itself apart? And it's, set to deliver a Bethesda RPG. So that kind of ties right back perfectly to the start of this video. Now, with all that being said, welcome into Class Dismissed, guys. There's a specific message, a little important message that I want to leave you guys with today. But I recognize that I want to give people plenty of time to kind of, make their way out. So guys, if you joined me for this video and you enjoyed this conversation, thank you so much. Hit that like button on your way out. We're going to talk about something real serious that I think is really something we need to be talking about, especially as men more, but as human beings completely. And Reeve Genesis tweets this out, and this is heartbreaking. He says, one of the first people on my comment on my YouTube videos to join my Discord. He's always been very nice to me, which is always appreciated in a sea of negativity that is the YouTube comments. I don't know if anyone knows how to contact him, but hopefully someone can get in contact with him. Vado with a scheduled tweet looking like that essentially he is looking to end his life. The suicide rate among men is absurd. And if you feel that way, please reach out for help. You aren't weak for asking for help. You are normal. Now, I've suffered with depression and anxiety a lot. I've been able to get a lot of that addressed through working with a therapist, but also being able to find kind of a root physical cause in my world. And I was low testosterone, dramatically low for the last 12 years. If you think about it, I've been sick for 12 years. And now that finally I am on a medication that helps me produce my own testosterone, it has dramatically affected my whole body, my whole mind, my thinking clearly, being way more me, which has been really nice. I hope that something as simple as that could be working for you. But note, I'm going to be honest, I've thought of hurting myself. I've thought of this stuff. These thoughts have popped into my head, especially when I was younger in my 30s. And for me, I have to you just chase them out. Cause to say that I don't have those thoughts would be a lie. To say that I haven't had those thoughts would be a lie. But guys, we look at the way the world is right now, especially for us as men, not discounting the women. I know they've got it hard too, but I'm just going from, I can only speak from the knowledge and experience I have as a guy. You are not alone, and it is worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. One of the problems I see about this medium that we're communicating through is that it isn't as good as if we were in a bar having a beer or a drink or water, something like that. Because of its nature, it in a way, it feels like empty calories. It does give us something. We both get something out of this video, this conversation, but it isn't the same as the real thing. And a lot of people end up over consuming this stuff and feeling so lonely and isolated because it truly doesn't give your body what it needs. And so what I would encourage you guys, reach out, always call somebody, call a hotline, please survive. You can get better, and sometimes it requires a little bit of work, but I can guarantee you it's worth it. And you surviving makes this world a better place. So that's what I wanted to bring up today. I saw this, it really was heartbreaking, and it does remind me to remind you, to remind us all that, it's okay to feel it's okay to be human. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to say that you need help. And if you are that person, please, reach out. You can always hit me up in DMs. I pray for this community constantly. I especially pray harder for the trolls. That is, I think, what is the most important thing. And so I'm not a psychologist. I'm not somebody who is going to sit here and be able to help you specifically, but I can hopefully help give you the resources. I can hopefully help let you know that you are loved, that you are worth surviving, and that ultimately, even if you feel like you've been a mess up, if you failed in certain things, we can fix this. That there is plenty of ways that we can work to make your life better, our lives better. And this all is kind of this wholesome mindset, body, mind, soul, spirit, all of these things combined. That's why I hammer home the debt thing, because a lot of people, debt is crushing a lot of people, but it could be a physical thing that I experienced. It could be a food allergy. There's so many factors that sometimes, in a way, I just have to approach this from a science-minded thing. What can we turn on? What can we turn off? And then what is the result of those things? And a lot of people feel so isolated. I just want to let you guys know you don't have to be. And hopefully this has been helpful for you in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, guys, I know we are ending on that, but I do want to just say love you guys, love you faces. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. Hopefully I will see you in the next video. But until then, take care.